Hello and welcome to HoosierAuthority.com's High School Sports Show. I'm your host, Chris May. Over the next half hour, we'll have Indiana high school sports absolutely covered for you. We're coming to you from Clay Terrace in Carmel and the Dick's Sporting Goods location. Coming up on this week's episode, we'll talk to co-athletic director from Fishers High School, Jim Brown, about the Fishers second-year athletic program, as well as Hoosier Authority's running sports coordinator, Brandon Jones, about all that's going on in the state in cross country. That's still to come. Stay tuned for HoosierAuthority.com's High School Sports Show.
The Hoosier Authority High School Sports Show is brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. Pinheads, bowling, arcade, food, and fun. Definitely not your father's bowling alley. St. Vincent Sports Medicine and Sports Performance, keeping you in the game. The Dellin Automotive family. Start your search for a new car at Dellin.com. The Indianapolis Marathon. Register now at IndianapolisMarathon.com. And by Mass Avenue Chiropractic, your home for total wellness. Here's your host, Chris May.
Welcome back to the Dick's Sporting Goods location at Clay Terrace in Carmel. I'm Chris May. This is HoosierAuthority.com's High School Sports Show. First of all, we welcome you into the first ever edition of this program. We're here in Carmel in Hamilton County, where the athletic programs are outstanding this fall. Of the 9 schools located in Hamilton County, there are 13 programs ranked in their respective top 10s, including 5 of those at Carmel. The Greyhounds with 2 number 1 teams, both in boys soccer as well as in football. First of all, we want to let you know what you can expect each and every week here on the show. I'll be your host. We'll be joined with interviews with players, coaches, and administrators that are making news across the state of Indiana in high school sports. We'll also have a look back at what has happened and what is coming up in the coming weekend here on the program. Without further ado, let's get right into it and look at the big football matchups from last weekend. Arguably none bigger than the 4-time defending state champions Warren Central, starting off the year 0-2. A very interesting contest as they played host to Cleveland Glenville High School. 38-36 was the final. A very close game against a nationally ranked team. Don't write the Warriors off just yet. Another big matchup, another out-of-conference loss for the MIC. That's Ben Davis. The Giants go to Penn, and they fall 15-7 in an overtime game in which a couple of key Giant players went down with injuries. Also highlighting last Friday night and Saturday's weather-delayed football results. In Fort Wayne, the big matchup, 4A number 3 Dwenger defeats 2A number 1 Harding. 38-13 was the final. Also up north, 5A number 3 Merrillville, another of the teams to beat Warren Central this year. The Pirates 14-6 winners over 4A number 15 Griffith. Highlighting Central Indiana highlights, a big win for 4A number 5 Plainfield. They beat the 5A and another MIC team, Lawrence North. 24-21 was the final in that 2-day affair. The second half played on Saturday due to weather. On the south side of Indianapolis, 5A number 11 Franklin Central scores 22 unanswered points, winning in overtime at 4A number 9 Roncalli. 22-16 was the final there. Also in Indianapolis, a big one as IPS's Arlington High School defeats 3A Bishop Chatard 28-22 the final. And in Columbus, the battle between North and East, won by the Bulldogs. 5A number 6 Columbus North doubles up East. 20-10, Columbus East had been ranked number 1 in Class 4A. Other big events that happened last week include a couple of big cross-country meets at Rebuff and Rushville. We'll have more on that coming up later in this program as we're joined by Hoosier Authority's running sports coordinator, Brandon Jones. In volleyball, a big matchup, 4A number 1 Cathedral taking on number 1 Muncie Burris of the smaller schools. It was Cathedral with a 3-0 victory in that matchup. Also, the Yorktown Invitational was held as 3A number 10 Chatard beat 3A number 3 Delta. In other sports, it was also a big weekend in girls golf. The Hall of Fame Classic at Prestwick was held, hosting a number of the state's top teams. The number 1 team, Martinsville, comes out victorious in this one by a margin of 21 shots. There were also big tournaments scheduled in boys and girls soccer as well as boys tennis. However, that weather did wash out a number of those events. Let's take a look at what's coming up on the Indiana high school sports scene this week, starting off with, of course, the action on the gridiron and football, arguably the biggest matchup in the state coming up. It's the MIC conference opener for Center Grove, ranked number 5 in the big school class, against 5A number 1 Carmel, as these two are sure to throw down with a heck of a clash. Also on the football scene, it's number 4 Plainfield from 4A taking on their rivals, number 5 Whiteland. Another battle just outside of Indianapolis in Lafayette. In fact, it's number 11 Clinton Central taking on 1A number 5 Lafayette Central Catholic. Also in the top 5 of this week's matchups, Roncalli now unranked with a private school battle against 3A number 4 Chittard. Both of those programs coming off of a loss. The Rebels still looking for their first win this season. And the top team in 1A, Sheridan, another of these Hamilton County programs, they will be playing at Twin Lakes, a team that is receiving votes in their class. Volleyball, it's going to be a big one, including here on HoosierAuthority.com, where you'll be able to find coverage of the Muncie-Burris Invitational, including some of the top teams in the state. Muncie-Burris ranked number 1. Delta is ranked number 2 and 3A. Also, Wapahani is another ranked team, as well as Assumption of Louisville, Kentucky, a nationally ranked team in that invitational coming up on Saturday. Also, a dual meet as number 5 Chittard takes on number 2 Heritage Christian in volleyball action this weekend. Coming up in boys soccer, it won't get any bigger than the Pike Invitational. That's because the state's 3 top teams, number 1 Carmel, number 2 Lawrence Central, and number 3 Pike, will all be involved in that 2-day event. Also, 4 ranked teams will be in action at the Hoosier Cup in Bloomington, which features number 4 Evansville Memorial, as well as number 5 Brownsburg. In girls soccer, the North Central Invitational is a big one. Number 2 Noblesville, number 3 Carmel, number 5 Cathedral, and number 10 Fort Wayne Canterbury are all involved there. Also, boys and girls cross country will have the state preview meet run in Terre Haute on Saturday. And in boys tennis, the Munster Round Robin featuring number 11 Culver Academies and number 14 West Lafayette, and the Homestead Round Robin with top 10 teams Delta and Homestead. That's a look at what's coming up and what has happened in Indiana high school sports. Next up, we're going to talk about the second-year athletic program at Fishers High School with their co-athletic director, Jim Brown. That's still to come. Don't go anywhere. You're watching HoosierAuthority.com's High School Sports Show.
Despite what they say, wanting it doesn't make you stronger.
Doesn't make you run faster.
It doesn't make you jump higher. So what does? We do.
The St. Vincent Sports Performance Team brings over 125 years of combined experience to our athletes. We work with athletes at every level, from middle schoolers to Olympians to professionals.
There is a way for you to improve, and we'll find it.
Because wanting it just isn't good enough.
The ball's on the 5-yard line. Your son has just put us in perfect scoring position. However, the star athlete has to come out of the game. Low back pain. Low back pain happens all too often in the 20 IHSAA sanctioned events. Whether your son and daughter's playing football or a sport of their choice, let Dr. Joe Keeler keep them in the game. Mass Avenue Chiropractic specializes in low back conditions and working with athletes just like yours. He's a college and high school athlete himself and still is a professional. Let Dr. Joe Keeler keep your son and daughter in the game.
It doesn't matter what sports you play. It doesn't matter what position. It doesn't matter if you're a pro or just getting started. If you want to maximize your potential, you need Velocity Sports Performance. Velocity Sports Performance. Maximize your potential. We guarantee it.
Welcome back. It's HoosierAuthority.com's High School Sports Show. We're coming to you from the Dick's Sporting Goods location at Clay Terrace in Carmel. We've been talking about some of the fantastic athletic programs in Hamilton County and a new program, the Fishers Tigers, just second year in existence, the second-year athletic program. We're joined by their co-athletic director, Jim Brown of the Tigers. Jim, thanks for stopping by.
It's a pleasure.
I've got to start with, it's just beyond belief to me how you build a program from scratch. An athletic program, be it coaches, facilities, youth programs, all that's encompassed in that. Explain to us, as well as you can, how all that comes together.
Well, it's a long process. When I say long process, I mean 3-4 years. I came in the past June, so a lot of this work I have to give credit to John Miles and some people at Hamilton Southeastern and people there at Fishers High School. Because there's a lot of it, 90% of it was probably done before I got there. But they would start out, building schedules, especially football schedule, because that's the hardest one. But they knew what conference they were going to be in with Southeastern, so that helped a lot. And so you work on scheduling, you work on because a lot of that stuff is 2 and 3 years out, so they have to get that done. So somebody had worked on that. Of course, the facilities, as far as the planning of that, was already done ahead of time. So they start working on that 2 or 3 years ago, and then probably a year before they start opening, then they will start interviewing for coaches. And the process we used, as football season was over and the fall sports, then they started interviewing for fall coaches, and then they went to winter coaches and so forth down the line. And some coaches were on staff, some coaches aren't on staff. So everything's that started putting in place. It was like 2 years ago and 3 years ago. So it's a long process that's thought out. And then as this past year went, or before the season started, you just kind of fine-tune things, and as far as the coaching staff and the schedules are there. Then you start thinking about all the equipment, all the uniforms. Usually after we hire the coaches, then we kind of let them pick out uniforms, what they want there, work with them on equipment, and so forth. And so then you have to bid everything out, and you're thinking of everything, because everybody think, buy a couple balls. No, there's blocking sleds in football. There's the nets in basketball. Right. There's flags for the cross-country courses. There's the flags in soccer for the corners. There's the nets for the goals in soccer. There's volleyball standards and how many spots you have in your gym and how many standards you need. And then you also have to think about 2 years in advance and 1 year in advance of booking all your officials. So there's a lot of things that people just take for granted when they come to an event, that there's a lot of stuff that's done ahead of time.
We're joined by Jim Brown, the co-athletic director at Fishers High School. Now, you talked about that, and it sounds easy when you put it into words, but actually getting that done, those processes taken care of, has to be a task at any level. But let's talk about this, the fact that Fishers in football is a 5A school, and in all the other sports a 4A school, the biggest classification you can have in the state of Indiana. That's a lot of students to worry about, a lot of coaches, and a lot of parents I think you have to worry about as well. Were there headaches along the way in getting all these things situated?
Because a lot of people have asked me this year, what's different this year than last year? And I think the biggest difference is we're not saying, well, we're waiting on effort to come in, or we're going to see it, or that's back ordered, or well, they haven't come in yet. So, but this year we've got everything and have the equipment, so we can get started. But there's a lot of that kind of stuff. After you ordered, you had to wait to get it. But the community itself was outstanding. I mean, everybody pitched in and helped. Anytime you needed work or helpers for anything, whether it's the staff there at Fishers High School, the teachers, the administration, the maintenance people, and then the parents. Just anytime you needed help with something, you just asked, they stepped right up and helped us out. And that has been one thing that I've been amazed at, all the willingness of everybody there in the community.
Give us a brief indication of your background and how you got to Fishers.
Well, the 25 years before this, I was at Triton Central High School in Shelby County. And I was 25 years, I was 23 years as their athletic director and assistant principal. So the most of my education experience has been from there. And so then when this opened up, and that was a 2A school. It was a unique opportunity. I thought, I have always lived in the Indianapolis area, so actually this was a little closer for me. But I was excited about starting, new. When I applied, they'd already hired John Miles. He'd been there a year because there's a lot of that stuff he already worked on and had done. And then after I met him, after I was hired, even though I was hired in February, I didn't start till I got out of school, which was in June. So, but I'd go up on vacations, evenings, and working to help out doing things. But he had a lot done, and we've worked very well together. He's got strong points, and I've got some, and I'm weak, and he's strong, and so it's just been fantastic. The two of us work because we think together, and everything's worked out very well.
Well, Jim, two things I want to hit on here quickly as we wrap things up. But one is the caliber of competition you're already putting on the fields. You're ranked, as we speak, #1 in the state in boys cross country. And also you have a unique rivalry being carved out of the Hamilton Southeastern School District. For people that don't understand, you came out of that yes. And you're joining them in the Hoosier Crossroads Conference. Talk about those two things, if you will.
Program-wise, we're having a very good fall. Our boys tennis team's ranked, our boys soccer team's ranked, and of course our cross-country team is ranked #1 right now. I just came from the Hamilton County cross-country meet where the boys took first place, beat Carmel. I forget how long a string they've had, but that was a big win for us now. The rivalry with Southeastern, two things about that. One, I've been involved and seen in my experience over the years a lot of rivalries and head-to-head things, but this one is a rival, but it's been since I think there's still kids that are close and go to school. It's a friend. When they say friendly rival, it's a friendly rival. They compete on the field, but I notice a lot of times when they come off the field, there's hugging and there's shaking hands and there's talking about this and that. So it's been really a unique situation that if you've been through and seen a lot, it's good. What we have started this year with Southeastern is what people have probably seen in the paper is called the Mud Sox Trophy. And it's similar to the Oaken Bucket with IU Purdue, but it's for all the sports. There's a traveling trophy in each sport. Whichever team wins head-to-head competition, they get to keep that trophy for a year, but they would earn a point for their school. Sure. And then at the end of the year, after everything's done, we total up the points, and the school that has the most points will keep the Mud Sox Trophy, which will be a large trophy of sock with, and they will get a tag, whether it's that red FHS in the year or blue HSC, and that will go back and forth. So
off in their second year of existence, that is Jim Brown, the co-athletic director of the Fishers High School Tigers. Thanks so much for your time.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
We'll be right back with more high school coverage. It's HoosierAuthority.com's High School Sports Show.
Plans to join us for the 12th Annual Indianapolis Marathon and Half at Lawrence on Saturday, October 20th. We have events for all ages and abilities, including the marathon, half marathon, 4-person marathon relay, 5K, and the 1-mile kids run. Stay for the post-race cookout. Events are open to both runners and walkers. All events take place in the grounds of the beautiful Fort Benjamin Harrison. For more information, please visit IndianapolisMarathon.com. Brought to you by the City of Lawrence, Duke Energy, WIBC Radio, and the Athletic Annex Running Center.
There goes another $75. I guess we'll be eating at home tonight.
For once, enjoy playing around at Forest Park or Fox Prairie in Noblesville, because you'll be paying less. You'll still be challenged on well-manicured fairways and difficult greens. Forest Park, home of free cart Mondays. Fox Prairie offers a Monday-Tuesday special for only $29 with cart.
Hey, hon, what are you doing? Well, get ready. We're going out tonight. I just saved $50 at Fox Prairie Golf Course.
Forest Park and Fox Prairie, Hamilton County's best golfing value. Saving more than just greens fees.
HoosierAuthority.com is your Indiana high school sports authority, covering all 20 IHSAA-sanctioned sports across the entire state. Hoosier Authority has your team covered. From football, volleyball, and cross-country to basketball, track, and softball, you'll find important information, rankings, scores, message boards, webcasts, and more. Watch this fall for Hoosier Authority's Friday Night Legends Football Tour, online at HoosierAuthority.com, and now on TV with Hoosier Authority's High School Sports Show.
Welcome back. It's HoosierAuthority.com's High School Sports Show. We're here this week at the Carmel Clay Terrace, Dick's Sporting Goods location. Stay tuned. We're coming to a location near you very soon. This segment of the show, we've got Brandon Jones, HoosierAuthority.com's cross-country expert, talking about not only what's going on in Hamilton County with cross-country, Brandon, a very strong area there, but also statewide, a great year for cross-country in the state of Indiana.
Yeah, the big story so far, Chris, really is the weather. You could obviously say that for any sport taking place right now. But, Chris, mentioned big stuff going on in Hamilton County tonight. About 15 miles from here at Noblesville High School, the Hamilton County meet featuring 3 ranked teams in the top 10 on both the boys and girls side is really going to give us some questions early on this season.
Talk about, first of all, statewide, what are the big stories so far? The weather is one, but who are some of those teams that have really made themselves known?
Well, there's teams early on in cross-country up in northwest Indiana. The LaPorte Slicers, they've got undoubtedly one of the nation's top runners, Chris, and his name is Mike Fout. He's a senior this year. Was a state champion at 3,200 meters on the track this past spring. Has already broken the coveted 15-minute barrier, 4 or 5 kilometers this early season in the fall, despite the weather. So Northwest Indiana, Mike Fout and the LaPorte Slicers are really making themselves known. Continuing, going over to Northeast Indiana, the Carroll Chargers out of Fort Wayne and Allen County. A lot of people expected them to be good, Chris, but not that many people expected them to be good this early. They've already won invitationals at Huntington and DeKalb, and Carroll is really looking like the team that's going to unseat the traditional power Northridge over there. On the girls' side of things, the Franklin Central Flashes here locally really are turning some heads. They had a dominating performance this past weekend at the Noblesville Hokum Karam, and then once again going back up to Northeast Indiana, Northridge. This team, great coaching, not a very big school. Josh Fletcher and Ryan McClain up there have just once again reloaded in a school of about 1,200 kids, and they're right back on top up in Northeast Indiana.
Well, football is still relatively early in the season, but for cross country, they've really progressed through the year already.
Yeah.
There have already been a couple of big invitationals. I know one of those was the Brebeuf Invitational. What did that really tell us about what's gone on in cross country so far?
On the boys' side of things, Chris, the Brebeuf Invitational really was the breakout of the Franklin Grizzly Cubs on the boys' side. This is a team last year that just came through a meat grinder regional, did not even qualify for the semi-state, and they're coming out now, and I've got them ranked, as we're going to talk about a little later on, at number 2 in my most recent poll. They've got 4 superb runners. In cross country, it takes 5. So Franklin's going to need to find that 5th runner, but right now they're running as good as anyone, and that really was their breakout race as they beat some ranked teams, Carmel, Noblesville, Center Grove, and the defending champs from over at Warren. Another story from Brebeuf, Chris, was the Carmel Junior Varsity Squad. Junior Varsity Squads don't get a lot of publicity, but Carmel's amazing depth and their tradition has really put them in a position to challenge, for a state championship.
What are some of the other events that have already been held that have meaning so far in the cross-country year?
Well, this past weekend, along with that Brebeuf meet and the Warren Central Noblesville Hokum Karam that I spoke of, the Rushville Invitational, I know an area of the state you're real familiar with. A couple of powerhouses from southern Indiana duked it out there, and it was a 1-point margin of victory for Columbus North over Bloomington North. I've got both of those teams ranked in the top 10. It came down to the 6th runner down at Rushville this past weekend as Columbus North barely edged out. And those are true traditional powers that you know are going to be there in October.
Now for us dummies in cross country, what the heck is a Hokum Karam?
A Hokum Karam is actually a German term for relay.
Okay.
It's not a traditional 5-kilometer race that the boys and girls are running these days. It is a alternating 6-mile relay in which 2 pairs each run 3 miles each, alternating.
Well, you've mentioned your rankings and some of the teams that are in them.
Sure.
Tell us about that. Who's atop your rankings right now?
Amazingly enough, the story, other than Franklin on the boys' side, 2nd year in existence, the Fishers Tigers are not only the team to beat in Indiana, but they're a team to be reckoned with on a national scene, Chris. They returned Drew Shields, who is a 4:14-miler, as a sophomore, and they're putting their first 5-kilometer team on the course tonight. So we'll have a lot more answers once these Hamilton County results roll in. But right now I've got Fishers at 1, Franklin at 2, and then moving up northeast a little bit, the McCutcheon Mavericks were a 5th place team last year, lost one of their athletes, but they look like they're going to return with full force this year. And then, of course, as we mentioned, you've got Carmel, and I've got Columbus North and Bloomington North rounding out my top 6.
Now, another feature on HoosierAuthority.com this year is the regional rankings, the semi-state rankings.
Right.
Tell us about those.
Our semi-state rankings, what we like to do, Chris, is give an idea of around the state who's going to be reckoned with. It's easy to focus on certain areas of the state, but HoosierAuthority.com is expanding out, and we've got semi-state editors in all 4 corners of the state, Chris, that know their areas, and they rank the top 15 individuals which will advance to the state finals, as well as the top 6 teams. That's something that's new in 2007, Chris, is that they're taking 24 teams to the state meet, 6 out of each of the 4 semi-states, as opposed to 5. That being because of some areas of the state are extremely strong. So we've got all 4 corners of the state covered very well. We've got people who know their stuff, and we try to release those on a weekly basis just to give those people out there who come and visit our site an idea of what's going on in all 4 corners of the state.
Well, Brandon, if you're breaking it down by semi-states, you can probably tell me, are there any pockets in the state where there are a lot of really strong, powerful teams this year?
Central Indiana, right here in our backyard, Chris, is really the area, though I will give a lot of credit to Northeast Indiana, as graduation losses from 2006 really made the rest of the state close the gap a little bit. Central Indiana right now has 5 teams ranked in the top 10 in the state of Indiana, so they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. But as I mentioned earlier, those teams up in Northeast Indiana, Carroll, Northridge, those teams in Northwest Indiana, you've got LaPorte, and those teams down in southern Indiana, Columbus North and Bloomington North, are going to make things interesting and challenging. But as you could kind of expect with the population density of both Marion and Hamilton County, those 2 areas of the state, as usual, are really dominating the rankings right now.
Well, Brandon, I know we had a really strong class of senior boys runners last year that have just graduated and moved on. As far as the class breakdown this year, do we have a lot of talented young guys, a lot of talented seniors? What's that look like this year?
I had mentioned Mike Fout from LaPorte. He's a sub-9-minute, 3,200-meter runner at 2 miles. The seniors really this year are looking to create their own legacy. I think the class of 2007, meaning the outgoing class that just graduated, was one of Indiana's best. So it's going to be tough to live up to them. But you've got a runner like Tito Madrano, who's over at Lafayette Jefferson. He's a star. You've got someone at Bloomington North, Michael Hoffman. He's a star. And there's some other talented runners in Central Indiana, Sean Wilson from Franklin Community, that are looking to really write their own legacy.
That's Brandon Jones, the running sports coordinator for HoosierAuthority.com. Thanks for stopping by,
Thanks,
Brandon.
Chris.
We'll be right back with more. It's the HoosierAuthority.com High School Sports Show.
Looking for something fun for the entire family? Then stop by Noblesville Golf and Batting Center. Located at 17400 Willowview Road, just west of Noblesville on State Road 32, Noblesville Golf and Batting Center is the place for your outdoor sports activities. With a 35-tee driving range, professionally designed miniature golf course, and batting cages for all skill levels, Noblesville Golf and Batting Center provides skill improvement and fun for the entire family. Be sure to ask about our group and party rates. Open Monday through Saturday from 10 to 10 and Sunday from 12 to 9. It's Noblesville Golf and Batting Center.
Welcome back. It's our final segment. It's HoosierAuthority.com's High School Sports Show. We're coming to you from Clay Terrace in Carmel at the Dick's Sporting Goods location. We're in Carmel. We can't ignore the fact that the Greyhounds are downright dominant in all sports. 7 fall sports going on. They're ranked in the top 5 in 5 of those sports. And we've got some visitors stopping by. It's the Big Game Crew, seniors from Carmel High School, including Brett Fishburne and Connor O'Bannon and the rest of the guys over here. But Brett, tell me a little bit about what is the Big Game at Carmel?
All right, the big game is actually all the senior guys in Carmel High School. We can, anybody can join that are senior guys. What we do is we go out, we support our Greyhounds. We go to football games, we go to baseball games, go to soccer games, girls swimming, track meet, anything just to support our Greyhounds, and we do it big.
Now, Connor, you're a football player, but you're also making time to go out, watch other sports, and be a part of the big game. How do you do that? You got to manage your time pretty well.
Yes, sir, definitely. It's definitely time crunch, but you know, when we play Friday nights, our program's really turning around football-wise. We're getting the fans out there. We're packing the home side every single night, and we have to go out and support our Greyhounds and other sports too as well to keep those fans coming back to us.
I talked about it. Carmel has 5 teams ranked in the top 5 in the state right now. Carmel football is #1 in 5A, the biggest class, getting ready to go into MIC play. What are your thoughts on this football season, especially conference?
It's a big year for us. This is the first time we can actually win the MIC outright, and we think we have a good chance of doing that, and that's our goal for the season. And hopefully after that we can go on and have a good playoff run.
Brett, I'm guaranteeing that football is a huge deal, tailgating, the experience of that. Tell me about the big game and what you guys like to do on Friday nights.
Friday nights, we definitely like to start it out big with the tailgate. For example, when we played Center Grove, a lot of us got out at 1:30 to start tailgating at 2. That's what we do. I mean, we do it big. We try to do big things. Big game doing big things, baby.
Oh, wait.
What about the other sports? What do you do for a soccer game, for instance?
For a soccer game, like, it got rained out on Saturday, but we were going to go set out in the parking lot. We were going to cook barbecue chicken, and we were just going to, sit out, lounge around until the game started and go support our Hounds.
You have a favorite sport at Carmel?
I'm going to say football.
This is a big, scary linebacker standing right next to you. You've got to say that, right?
And I'm glad that he is on our side.
Connor, quickly, talk about experiencing some of these other games, going out to soccer, going out to, whatever else it may be, tennis and those sort of sports. Does that give you a sense of pride, sort of supporting your other classmates and teammates?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's great. I like seeing them tell me I had a good game, like Monday and stuff, and I like telling them they had a good game, and it just brings our whole school together, and that's what's so great about it.
Carmel, they're great in their high school sports, but they're also great in their fan support as well. That's going to put a wraps on the first ever edition of HoosierAuthority.com's High School Sports Show, coming to you from Clay Terrace in Carmel. Stay tuned, same time, same channel. We'll be back next week.